You probably heard that Candace Owens got fired from the Daily Wire, or at least that the Daily Wire and Candace Owens parted ways. Because Ben Shapiro, Candace Owens, Jeremy Boring, and the rest of the Daily Wire were hardcore disagreeing with everything that Candace Owens was stating, and obviously getting very emotional about things that Candace Owens was stating as well. Ben Shapiro and Jeremy Boring probably being the main two that were pretty pissed off at what Candace Owens was saying, and making her opinions known and not backing down on a lot of the opinions. Tim Pool here tweeted out, and a lot of people are very, very angry at Ben Shapiro, the Daily Wire, Jeremy Boring, but also people are still very angry at Candace Owens because they think it's all her fault because she's being, anti-Semitic or whatever. Here we have Tim Pool talking about the situation, and we're going to get into a couple of other clips of Tim Pool reacting to the Candace Owens firing as well. I didn't think much of real Candace O talking about Candace Owens. Then I went on her show and was deeply impressed. She knew what she was talking about. I actually did the research and I agreed with her insights into the news. Best of luck to her on her next move. And Tim Pool also goes on to say, tremendous respect to her for not backing down on her opinions as well, even in the face of harsh criticism. We need fighters, not people who pander or placate. And it's true, because not only was Candace Owens facing harsh criticism from people on Twitter and on YouTube and stuff like that, just, viewers, but she was facing harsh criticism from her bosses. And I'm sure she was being told multiple times before the Daily Wire ended up firing Candace Owens, or they parted ways or whatever. I'm sure she was told multiple times, like, Candace, you got to stop talking about this stuff. You got to stop stating these opinions in such a harsh way. You got to stop being so honest. And she said, no, I'm going to continue to, talk about what I believe to be the truth. And I also happen to agree with Candace Owens on a lot of those things. I don't agree with everything that Candace Owens has done ever, like of all time. I really don't like the way she handled the Steven Crowder situation or anything like that. I thought that was kind of petty, but in this particular instance, I do agree with Candace Owens, and I think she was very right to stand her ground, and I'm really glad that she did. Somebody stood up to Ben Shapiro and the rest of those people who think they can just bulldoze everybody else and, even fire them if they disagree, which is something that I never thought would actually happen from the Daily Wire, even though it kind of already happened with the Steven Crowder stuff. But I never thought it would be a disagreement on something other than personal matters. Like, I never thought it would be a disagreement on like foreign affairs that they would fire someone over. That's just crazy coming from a group of people, and Ben Shapiro and Jeremy Boring and the rest of the Daily Wire, who claim they value free speech within the country, and then they fire someone for simply their speech. Anyway, let's check out this clip here from Tim Pool over on Timcast with Jack Posobiec and a few other people talking about Ben Shapiro firing Candace Owens.
Daily Wire severs ties with Candace Owens after her embrace of anti-Semitic rhetoric. I love the headline from the corporate press on all of these things. Jeremy Boring, co-CEO of Daily Wire, simply said that Daily Wire and Candace Owens have ended their business relationship. It was fairly professional. As far as I know, Candace did also just said, here's my YouTube channel. Thank you. Everybody runs wild with speculation, and you can't help it, can you, CNN? They had to make sure they put Ben Shapiro's name in it. They want to make sure they get those clicks, and they had to include anti-Semitic rhetoric. Okay. I don't know.
It's Oliver Darcy, so
I know, of course. But to be fair, there's like 4 or 5 other corporate press outlets that did the exact same thing.
Yep.
So what we know is that she is no longer with the Daily Wire. There are many people that are suggesting the issue was she had made comments critical of Israel, and she was critical of certain Jewish individuals pertaining to Christianity versus Judaism. However, I don't know that any of that plays a role, to be completely honest.
Come on, Tim. Everybody, let me know in the comments. Maybe I'm the crazy one, but I think everybody kind of knows that was what got her fired, because it's very obvious that Ben Shapiro is Israel first, Candace Owens is America first, and that's just what it comes down to. It seems very obvious to me, because the divide didn't start until Candace Owens started kind of going against what Ben Shapiro and the rest of the Daily Wire were stating about the war in the Middle East. So, let me know if I'm the crazy one, or is Tim trying to run cover for the Daily Wire? I don't know. Let me know in the comments.
I think her contract was likely coming to an end, and she disagrees with them. It really is much simpler. We know for a fact that Ben and Candace disagree on a lot of things. I don't think that's grounds for them to be like, we're no longer going to work with you ever again. But if they both were kind of like, maybe we shouldn't work together, that's just it.
Yeah, she tweeted out that she's free. That was part of her tweet. So she obviously felt trapped there up until today. And she and Ben had that falling out, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago. I wasn't here and I didn't talk about it, but I saw they had a miscommunication, and then they kind of, neither of them realized what was going on. And then all of a sudden it blew up into this big fight, and then they stopped talking to each other. And then she wouldn't mention his name. She probably wanted out. She probably went to the guys and was like, triple my salary, new contract. And they were like, no. And she's like, all right, I'm done.
If you enjoy content like this, then make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It really does help me out a ton. Let's get back to the video.
I don't think I doubt she probably asked for a lot more money.
I bet she wanted like a huge raise because she was really unhappy, is my guess, or she didn't even ask for anything and she just left. One of the two.
I'm assuming Candace she's already successful and wealthy and she doesn't need the money from them.
She's going to be great.
If it's an issue of freedom and you got someone who's a millionaire, it's impossible to buy freedom.
Yeah, she should start her own network, CandaceOwens.com.
But I do want to point this out.
Is that right?
Christy Neville's on Twitter. I'm not sure who this is. Took a screenshot showing that episodes 299 and 301 of the Candace Owens show have been removed, saying that both were about Bridget McCrone. And if you head over to Apple Podcasts, you can see that the episode from March 13th, I believe, is what we're looking at. No, there's no one. So what is it? Yeah. March 13th is not there. So it goes 12 to 14, 300 to 302. And it goes March 7th to 12th. There's no 299. So there's no, but there is a March 8th shot in the dark. So I don't know for sure, but it looks like one of the key issues may have been coming out and saying that Emmanuel Macron's wife, Bridget McCrone, is a man, and I'll stake my career on it. I have to assume that the Daily Wire immediately got a lawsuit threat, because that's how these things work. We've received threats of lawsuits. Now, many people, there's a lot of people who are like, no, Israel. And they're saying it's because she was critical of Israel or whatever. Yeah, it's entirely possible, considering, Ben Shapiro is much more invested for obvious reasons.
The way I see it, I don't think that Ben Shapiro or Jeremy Boring and the Daily Wire would part ways with someone like Candace Owens for many issues that are outside of like personal disputes, such as the Stephen Crowder situation. But I think the only issue that they would possibly fire anyone over for their speech and their opinion on foreign affairs or even internal affairs, like within the country, just politics, would be the Israel one, because they feel that strongly about it, because they are truly, Ben Shapiro and the rest of them are truly Israel first. And that's just what it is, and you can see that with how heated they get and how emotional they get over that war. Whenever people just say, maybe like the United States shouldn't be very involved in that, and they're just like, no, we must be completely involved. We must protect Israel at all costs. It's like that to me, it's very obvious what's happening here. It's very obvious that Candace Owens just said the wrong thing about the wrong country, and Ben Shapiro said that's enough, and Jeremy Boring said that's enough.
By the way, that, and I haven't even looked into it, but that would potentially be under French law.
What? Elaborate?
So defamation law, as most people know in the U.S., is extremely loose. It's and even more so for public individuals, public figures. So they say this came up with Nick Salmon, of course, because Nick Salmon was a private individual who was defamed as opposed to a public individual. This did not come up, for example, for Kyle Rittenhouse, because they claimed that Kyle Rittenhouse was named in the arrest warrant, and so when he was named in that capacity, that made him a public figure. So that being said, in the EU, the laws are much stricter, and I've seen people try to do this. They call it what is it like?
Yo, I'm sorry, I just
tourism lawsuits in the UK, where people try to have tried to do this in the UK and it doesn't work. But if France were going to bring it, it could be pretty rough.
I think I just figured it out.
You figured it out.
Candace Owens goes to the guys at the Daily Wire and says, I want more money, and they said no. And she goes, contract negotiation. They go contract negotiation. She says, this is not working for me. Like, well, too bad, you're in a contract. And she goes, oh, yeah? So she goes on her show and goes, Bridget McCrone is a man.
Oh.
And then they're like, ah! And then they're like, okay, we get it. You're out of your contract. Leave us alone.
That did kind of come out of nowhere.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, like, what is she? Could it be that she came out with those episodes saying, I will stake my career on Bridget McCrone being a man, because it put the liability on the Daily Wire, which she would not absorb? And so they're like, okay.
Which I'm sure if she said it on the show, it would come under.
I think it comes down to the Israel thing. Like, I think that's what it comes down to. I think Candace Owens probably wanted out because she realized, I'm not as free as I thought I was. I can't really talk about certain things. And that's not how Candace Owens wants to, have her career. Where she talks about things be limited by the person that she's working for. I think she probably, whenever she joined the Daily Wire, thought it wouldn't be that, because that's what they talk about. They talk about free speech all the time and everything, and then they go and fire someone for, in my opinion, speech about the war in the Middle East. Let me know in the comments if I'm completely off base on that, but it seems very, very obvious to me, and a lot of other people, most other people out there on Twitter, also feel like it's very, very obvious why Candace Owens ended up getting fired. Let me know in the comments what you're thinking about not only Candace Owens firing from the Daily Wire, what you think about Tim Pool and the Timcast crew. What do you think about their statements on Candace Owens getting fired from the Daily Wire or parting ways from the Daily Wire? Let me know in the comments what you're thinking about the entire situation. If you did enjoy the video, please do a like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I hope to see you guys on the next one.